So it's been 60 minutes. Let's get our dough out. Now we're gonna do stretch and fold number 2. If you're writing this down as a recipe, you want to do 3 to 4 stretch and folds within 3 hours. So if you want to do them 45 minutes, an hour between each other, that's fine. But you need to do at least 3 sets. I try to do 4, but I don't always get there. Of stretch and folds. So here's number 2. The number 2, you're just going to probably do, we'll know when we get in there, about 3 or 4 stretch and folds. I'm going to do it in the bowl in this one. Got my hand underneath it, lifting it, stretching. See how different that dough looks, how smooth it is? That's what stretch and folds do. It builds all that gluten in your dough. Stretch it, stretch it, stretch it, and fold it. Turn your bowl, do the same thing, lift it up, stretch, 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 get it as high as you can. Should probably stretch it the other way so you guys can actually see the stretch. Let's try it with my other hand for you. Stretching it. Just let it roll down. Fold it over, turn your bowl, do it one more time. Come up out of the bowl so it's not stretching. So you can just take it all the way out if you'd like. Help it, give it a stretch. Just putting a little pressure on both ends, stretching it, folding it, turning it. Pressure on both ends. Got my hands cupped. Stretching. Folding. Turn. And I'll do one more. Stretch. Like you can totally feel the difference in the dough. It's thick. It's not wanting to stretch as much. And that's what you're wanting. And fold. And now, just because I'm me, I like to kind of play with it. Press it into a ball, turn it, give it a couple little extras. This is where my OCD sets in, and I think it needs to be all pretty. But it doesn't matter because it's going to change when you're in the thing. And you put it back in your bowl. Put the lid back on. Set your timer. And see you in about 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, it's been another an hour. So we are on the home stretch. So let's get our dough. Got all these little crusties all over from my sourdough. This is what it's looking like. Look, see how much smoother it's not is. It's not all shaggy. So we're gonna do one more stretch and fold. Look at how smooth and soft that is. Just pretty, pretty. Grab it, stretch it. Yes, if you can hear my dogs. It's that time of night, you know? You only need to do about 4 or 5 of these. Can you guys see that difference in that when I hold it up like that? And it's just a completely different dough. We built up so much gluten in it. It's smooth, it's soft. Stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. One of the ways you know you've built up enough gluten, they call it a window pane. If you can get a window pane in it, then you know you have enough. Let's see if I can get one in here. Show you what I'm talking about. You just stretch it. You keep stretching it. What we're trying to do is get it as thin as possible without it ripping. See it right here where I'm looking? How it's starting to kind of see my finger under it. I just ripped it without my finger. That's one of the ways you can tell if you have enough gluten buildup. You do window panes. I've never had a lot of success with them, but that's what it means when you hear that. See if we can do one here again. Let's get the stretches going. Okay, let's try here. And I'm just going to stretch it. Try to get it to window pane for us. Can you see my finger yet? It's kind of happening in the middle there if you can see it. I wish the light was on better. All right, one more stretch and fold. And I roll it into a little ball. You guys know I enjoy this part. I don't know why, but it makes me happy. Look, I'm already getting little air bubbles in it. My sourdough starter, I've discovered, is very impatient. It's much like me. It likes to do things fast. And it just does things a lot quicker than you're designed to do. So there we go. Now you've got two choices. So we've done our stretch and folds, 3 hours. We did 3 of them. I did mine every hour. You saw the difference in the beginning of the dough to the end of the dough. Now you get to choose about your bulk fermenting. The bulk fermenting is where your dough is going to get most of its taste. So you can do it a minimum of 6 to 8 hours. You can leave it out on your counter. If your house is like the perfect temperature, mine uses 75, and you like the taste of your sourdough, then do it on the counter. Or you can put it in the refrigerator. You can do it overnight. You can do it for up to 3 days. Tonight, since it's late here, we're gonna put them in the fridge, and we'll come back in the morning, and then that's when we'll shape it. Look, I've got dough in my hand, and then I enjoy playing with it. I know, I'm retarded. Okay, so your choice: bulk ferment on the counter or bulk ferment in the refrigerator. I'm doing refrigerator. And we'll be back tomorrow. But for you guys, it'll be just like 2 seconds because I'm going to turn the video off. So I'm going to get out my next dough just so you guys can see it too. I've been working on a couple of them. Got 4 loaves going. I want you to see that. See, and it's time for its final stretch. So if you have it written down, after you mix your dough, after you do the rest, you're gonna do stretch and folds. You need to do 3 to 4 sets in a 3-hour period. Your first set, you need to do 20 to 25 stretch and folds. Then the second and third set, you do like 4 to 5 stretch and folds. Here we go. This is my second set of dough. See how these are window painting? Can you see that where it's like stretching? That's how you know. I should turn it this way so you guys can see it. That your stretch and folds have worked. So you don't got to get crazy on these. Do your 3 to 4 sets. And then do your bulk ferment. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Fold over. Turn your bowl. Get underneath it. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Fold it. All right, and I'm going to take this one out on this one. Wait, look at all those air bubbles in there. I just love that. There she goes. I'm going to stretch her because I've got double the dough here, so I want to make sure I really get in the middle of it. knead, pull, knead, pull, knead, pull, flip, flip. She's still pretty sticky, so I'm gonna give her a couple. Stretch, flip. And now with this, if you're going to add flavors to your dough, this is when you'll want to do it. So I'm going to separate my dough because, like I said, I've got 2 different loaves here. All right, so we're almost done with this last stretch and fold. And on this one, I was doing flavors in it. So let me get my bread scraper. I'm going to kind of dampen it a little bit just so it doesn't stick super bad. If you want to, you can weigh the dough and make them even, but I just eyeball it. And I just scoot her over there, tell her to take a chill, and we're going to work on this. Now, this is the only way I found that you can get a flavor in and it gets in the whole bread. So we're going to do the envelope stretch and fold on this last set. You're going to stretch it out as thin as you possibly can without getting holes. Because the more surface space it has, the more flavor you're going to have. Let's see if I can get you in here so you can see it better what I'm doing. All right, so this first one I'm going to do cinnamon and sugar. So I've got my cinnamon. I'm going to take 2 tablespoons, put them in a bowl, and then I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of sugar. You don't have to use the sugar, but I like my bread sweet when it's cinnamon raisin. So you can see I'm kind of stirring those together. And now you're just going to sprinkle it on your dough. Okay, so that one's done. Then you're going to take your raisins and you're going to do the same thing. Now the secret with raisins, you don't really want them on the outside of your dough because when they're in the oven, you cook at such a high temperature, has a tendency to char them. So with my raisins, I always do them, I only do them on the one, this inside. I won't put them on the next one that I'll be showing you guys here in a minute. You just try to sprinkle them. And then I'll go and try to squish them in a little bit because like I said, I really don't want them on the outside of my bread. So we're gonna grab our scraper and do the fold in. Get out of here, little girl. Fold it, fold it. And this last one, remember what we do? Flip it. Now we're gonna kind of press it out again. Look at all the cinnamon on my hands. It's leaving fingerprints. Try to mash it out. It's sticking to me pretty good. If that happens, get a spray bottle and just squirt your hands. I'm going to add a little bit more cinnamon. My raisins are falling out. I'm gonna squish it down a bit. Try to get it to fold over for me. So cinnamon raisin is one of the harder flavors to do. So if you're a first timer, try no raisins the first time. Because like I said, the raisins don't incorporate like all pretty like you want them to. I'm kind of making my dough ball. So if you have a bayonet and you want them to be all beautiful and artesian looking, this is where you'd put it in the bayonet. You'd flour your bayonet, you pick this up and flop it in there. I don't use a bayonet. I just make my little dough ball. Whoops. Can you see that? Oh yeah. Scoop her up. Put her in. Look, I didn't dough my hand. So much for my pretty ball. I didn't spray my hand is what I was trying to say while I was thinking at the same time, and it didn't work out for you guys. So now that one is ready for the refrigerator. Bulk ferment. Let me wash my hands, get the cinnamon off. And I will show you my next flavor. We're going to do rosemary garlic. If you guys are doing these like for yourself or for a friend or something, make sure there's no food allergies if you're doing like 2 different flavors, or do them separately completely. Because as you can see, I mixed a little bit of cinnamon because it was on my hands with my other dough. So I want to clean up all the cinnamon off the counter. And here we go. See if I can get some of that off. Doesn't look like it. I'm wiping my scraper off too real quick so there's no cinnamon on it. I don't know, cinnamon might be good with rosemary garlic, but I don't want to try it. Alright, get out here. So we're going to do the same thing to begin with. Do your rectangle, the envelope, stretch and fold. Stretch it out as thin as you can on this first one. And you'll see how much easier these are to do than the raisin and cinnamon. I'm telling you, those raisins just are little boogers to get going. But it turns out pretty when you bake them. All right, so we got her pretty flattened out here. Now I'm going to take my rosemary. Just take a spoonful, just sprinkle it. Now I've noticed rosemary is not as strong, so I usually go a little heavy on it. Now you want your garlic. Garlic is very strong, so you want it to be lighter. I'd usually do about half a teaspoon on each one. Sometimes if it's a huge loaf, I'll bump it up to the 2 teaspoons if you want to be accurate. Flip and fold. Flip and fold. We're trying to get it up on top of it, where it looks kind of like a baguette or hot dog bun. Then we're going to go there. This. Now what do? You turn it upside down. And stretch it back out. And you can see a little rosemary right there. This dough is so thick, you guys. The gluten is built up so nicely. You've done a great job here. I hope you're doing this with me, not just watching. Okay, grab the rosemary again. My friend makes all these spices for me. She grows them and dehydrates them. Such a blessing. Garlic. Flip it. Whoops. Trying to stick. Flip. Comes in. Comes in. You've got your cute little ball. Pick it up. Put it back in your bowl. And it's time for bulk ferment. So I'm popping these in the refrigerator. And I will get them out in the morning and we will bake them. Like I said, at this point, instead of putting it back in your bowl, if you were going to use a bayonet or any kind of fancy little bowl that you wanted to try to do like an artesian pretty loaf with, this is where you would do it. You'd flour it, you'd put the dough into the bowl, then you'd cover it and go stick it in the fridge or put it on the counter. Like you do the same thing, you just have it in your pretty bowl that's going to give it a specific shape. Like, you know, usually they have little lines or all kinds of stuff. All right, fun part's next.